Hello peeps and hello peppers and welcome to Soul Saturday. And now I would kind of sing like in this movie. Here's where I can hear the bells, but I forgot the text. And because the church bells are ringing and I am kind of early for a change, and I'm sorry if this wiggles, but in case you haven't figured out yet, I wiggle when I walk, and I want to show people this beautiful walk in a park um, on the way to church. And maybe you get a small impression on what Reykjavik looks like. I'm going to, let's say, stop the video if I see like a major amount of people, or if you would see people's faces or car numbers, but I just wanted to throw in a quick hi. Because I know that subscribers are getting bored when people don't post. And like yesterday, I had the loveliest conversation with my autistic friends, like about the fear of missing out. I have always the feeling I'm never completing anything, and then the people went like, okay, sorry, I got a text message and I got a little bit interrupted in my flow, and the people didn't go like, sorry, I got a text message, but the people went like, Frida, you are always completing your paintings. Okay, and that's why another friend of mine also said, well, Frida, your specialty is speed painting and not detail painting. So let's transfer that to the YouTube. My specialty will always be very raw videos. And actually, one of my favorite films from my very first film festival is called Gunnar Goes Comfortable, and it's just composed of very raw videos of the life and travels of a guy with a chronic disease, of course, or with a set of several chronic diseases. Of course, it's a little bit tricky to sort of picture as if the chronic diseases had disappeared with the right mindset only. I'm sure they haven't disappeared, let's say, but the man had another outlook on life and a new community by means of that. And talking about community, maybe we should talk about what going to church means to me. By the way, here is okay, my beautiful broken jacket, but I wanted to show you the leaves on the ground, fallen leaves on the ground. But yeah, this is a fraction of the walker if you're ever interested in it. Yeah, maybe on this very slow way to church, we could maybe have a little meditation on what church means to me. Because like on the weekend there was a, let's say, streamed funeral of a very pious person who was very dear to me 2 decades ago. But let's say I lost touch with the people. Partly because life got in the way on both sides, of course, and partly also because, let's say, the religious values behind our different lives clashed in the moment when I figured out that I couldn't adhere to the classical family picture. But I was really touched that the relatives of the deceased still remembered me well enough to even mention me during the funeral service, and that the person we remember so dearly now had obviously a good influence on my life, making me the kind person that I hopefully am. They said women, but they did. Actually, they don't know that I'm more than meets the eye, but yeah. I attend to a church where people have known me for ages and where people, let's say, usually don't ask about anyone's labels of any kind unless it is really relevant to the context. And whenever it is relevant to the context, then the people in this church can embrace me the way I am. And they don't get going on like, yeah, God made you so special because God sent you on a special mission, etc. Because, I mean, like, of course, don't get me wrong. In my youth, I needed such phrases. Sort of to carry on. And I needed this, what you call toxic positivity today. But today, let's say I believe in Jesus as a historical figure. Because there is like research that he existed. And well, when it comes to miracles, then you may also argue that I also believe in the Icelandic sea monster being a Desmosdylian. That's a certain fossil, but creationists and I won't get together either because creationists have their own ideas about fossils that I can't subscribe to. But let's say I believe in Jesus as a person who treated people normal because the most of the stories where Jesus expelled evil spirits and blah sound like people with epileptic seizures. And let's say one of my favorite priests even subscribes to this idea too. And I think I mentioned that I had something like an epileptic seizure, but it was not an epileptic seizure, or so the doctor said the other day. And the people who were the best angels in this case were those who stayed calm and just did what needed to be done in the moment, even though it meant cleaning up dirt and sorry to say this, like literally seating me on the toilet because I couldn't stay upright for a long time anymore. And let's think that Jesus was just a person who was not afraid of dirt. Maybe also because he came from a little bit doubtful circumstances. So some of my modern priest friends say that the story of Jesus coming from the Holy Ghost comes from that nobody knows who Jesus' biological father is, because like given the political situation of the time, that might as well have been Mary's violent encounter with a Roman soldier. I like true crime videos, and I like this thought of genetic genealogy, even though I know there are legal and ethical limits to it. But let's say if there is ever any provable Jesus DNA, I would totally be interested in it. And okay, I am not saying we have to tolerate all the Roman soldiers. When people ask me which cartoon character I mostly identify with, I list a list of red heads, and one of them is of course Obelix from Asterix and Obelix, because he can also like eat a lot without noticing, and he likes being a little bit childish and rebellious against the colonial power. So let's be rebellious against the colonial power, and Jesus was that too. So I value my church as a, let's say, place of community where you can have reasonable conversations and learn from each other. Churches in Iceland are run by the state, and that's criticized widely. But still, the other day I also saw a poster: when you enter the national church, that is technically a Lutheran church, you contribute to our community, so you can register to the national church. It's Þjóðkirkjan in English, and I'm not sponsored. And like, so Þjóð means like the people, the nation, but like that doesn't have such a connotation of like nationalist usually. It's also like I studied something called Þjóðfræði, like the people's science. That is cultural anthropology, essentially. I didn't graduate in cultural anthropology because I graduated in gender studies, but when I say I'm a gender studies scholar, that sounds a little bit goofy. So relevant to what I'm doing in today's time is I'm saying I'm a þjóðfræðingur. Even though when someone has a doctoral whatever in þjóðfræði, I maybe would have to explain that better. That I only had a few courses in Þjóðfræði, but they shaped this YouTube channel and they shaped my whole identity, because Þjóðfræði is about identity. So let's say believing in a higher power, and also like only telling about it when it's relevant, is a part of my identity. And the universe has probably heard me, because now the bells are ringing, like the entering bells, so I have to be a little bit faster. And this my video time is almost up. Yes, I want to strengthen the community, and I want to keep this community welcoming. I have gained the impression in the past 20 years that churches in Iceland are actually a, let's say, institution of pedagogy, where people learn something, like also about historical figures and about ethics. And yes, the church has also protected refugees in its buildings. I'm, let's say, that child in the 80s and 90s that I was remembers now like the story of the Hunchback of Notre Dame, who claims asylum for minorities in the church. And actually, yeah, this is the church that I want to see, the church that stands up for the people who don't have that position in society. And by the way, I once had a church summer job when nobody else would hire me for one, and actually that was also such a cool learning experience. And my favorite moment was when an old lady wanted to speak to the regular priest who was not there, and I had to tell her he was not there, but she said, well, it's so nice to talk to a person and not an answering machine. And the old lady and I figured out together how to operate the coffee machine, because I don't have procedural memory, I don't know that, but in a good group I can do so much more. Bye bye.